Hello, my lovely learning designers. Anna Sabramowicz here. Today I want to bring to you a very quick framework for what I call the illusion of choice. It is going to be very handy for you if you want to craft an interactive experience that lets people feel like they have a choice, but doesn't deviate into hundreds and hundreds of branches that you need to write and craft, but still makes them feel, the end user, like they have impact on the story, like they're making decisions and those decisions matter, while at the back end you're keeping your scope reasonable, small, and focused. You like that? Okay, let's get right into it. So let's say what you have is an interactive experience that has several major beats. And each beat is a situation in your interactive story. So we're going to call this beat 1. This is going to be beat 2, and this is going to be beat 3. And what happens is at every single one of these beats, what I have is a decision. So you have a situation, and then you have options. 1, 2, 3, let's say. And each one of those options would take me, what I want to do is actually, I want people to make a decision, but also somehow make it over here to decision 2 in the sequence of the events that I want my story to proceed in. Let's say we're following a process and I want somebody to go to the second step of the process without having to build out all these crazy branches all around, right? So what I'm going to show you is how you can do this in a very strategic way without making the person feel like, this really isn't, they're not really letting me choose. So how you do this is, okay. So let's say here I have that beat number 1. Right? And what happens is in this beat, which is basically a situation with a decision that leads me to make a decision, I have these 3 options to choose from. I'm just going to kind of lay it out here. So I have this situation here, and it says, okay, you're going to help this customer, and this customer is asking for this kind of help. What are you going to do? Are you going to do 1, 2, or 3? And what happens is that maybe only one of these is the right answer or the right option. Let's say I'm going to identify it with 2 lines. It's going to be 2. But let's say somebody chooses 1. Well, how the heck are they going to get to beat number 2 if they choose 1? How do we get them over here? I don't want to create another branch. I want them to come back over here, right? So how do we get them from beat 1 to beat 2 without kind of going, wrong, try again? What you can do is create this little modifier in between. Basically what this is going to be we call it a callback. And this is very easily done with just writing. Now, if you just watched my walkthrough, which I released earlier this week from Our World War, they were masters at doing this because they actually had some serious constraints. They couldn't film all these alternate things. So this is what happens. Let's say I choose an option that is incorrect. And let's say one of the options here is, let's say I'm still helping that customer, and the way to help them, I think, is to call my supervisor. So my option here is call supervisor. Now, if that's the wrong option, what I can do here is I could say, well, calling a supervisor might be going a little bit too far right now. What about, whatever the option number 2 says, what about looking up their notes, looking up their file? So what I've done here, and this is what we're calling kind of the callback, right, is I've acknowledged that they chose that they were going to talk to the supervisor. So that's acknowledged. That's great. So now I know that whatever I choose actually affects the next part of the story. But then I'm also gently brought back to say, hey, do you think maybe we should look at the notes? And maybe that was the option here, obviously. So here we can just go straight into the notes. And here it's another option. Let's say this one is to hang up on them. And you could say, well, hanging up is an interesting idea, but that might get them more angry. How about we look at the notes? Do you see what I'm doing here? Like what I'm doing is I'm acknowledging the option that this person made. I'm making it quite juicy, going, yes, the supervisor I could see why you choose that. I mean, definitely. But what happens is we're kind of gently bringing them back so that One, we acknowledge their option, they feel like they've made a decision and we are respecting that, but then we are gently bringing them back so that we can take them to the natural next step if we took the customer's notes. Do you see how that works here? So even if they chose the wrong option, we're not going, try again. What we can do is just say, hey, that's cool, but what about the notes? That's a good idea, right? Okay, let's do that next. And then we can go to step number 2 of the process. So, like I said, if you're interested to see how this actually works in reality, in a real interactive story, check out the other walkthrough that I have of Our World War to see it in action. All you need to see is actually just one of those decisions, and it'll actually make perfect sense. I hope you enjoyed this. If you like this framework and you found it useful and it resonated with you, or you got a couple of ahas about how you can actually make people go in a story from one thing to the next without feeling like you're just driving them there, let me know in the comments if you found it useful, and I will see you next time, my friends. Take care. Bye.